It is time for political breakfast and time to talk about Monday's Supreme Court ruling. The U.S. Supreme Court ruled that former presidents have broad immunity from criminal prosecution for official acts. This delays further the Washington criminal case against ex-President Donald Trump that he plotted to overturn his 2020 election laws, and possibly the interference case here in Georgia. Strategist Brian Robinson and Tharon Johnson are up early to talk about all this. Good morning to both of you.
Morning.
Good morning.
Good morning. Brian, you up first. What were your thoughts when you heard the ruling come down?
Well, this is going to keep Donald Trump out of the courtroom for the rest of the campaign season, which is a huge win for him just for this year. And it does seem to back up a lot of what he's been saying on the campaign trail about having immunity for acts as president. So the important thing is it does allow him to run out the clock when it comes to basically this DOJ prosecution more than any other. And if he, of course, gets elected president, you have to assume this investigation kind of magically disappears and he has escaped the hangman's noose in this particular case. So just for this year, this is monumental. If you look at conservative media right now, FoxNews.com headline is calling it a blockbuster, a milestone. So that gives you a feel for how conservatives are approaching yesterday's ruling. It is a win. It allows Trump to feel a little bit vindicated. Democrats are going to disagree. Theron's going to have a different view than that.
Yeah, I was going to say timing is everything. And Tharon, jump in here. What was the reaction, among, Democrats that you talked to?
Most of the Democrats, if not all, one was just shocked. A lot of them are fearful with this ruling. You saw the Biden campaign right away come out and talk about how this is bad for democracy. This is terrible for this country. And you saw some justices come out and say, like, this is just a pathway if Donald Trump is reelected to the White House for him to carry out his plot, carry out his plan to destroy democracy. But what the campaign has got to do, and I know we're not talking about as much the post-debate and all the reaction from that, is that you got to see the president now go out for the next few months leading up to the Democratic convention and make this matter to the American people and remind Democrats that because we did not vote for Hillary Clinton in 2016 and allowed Donald Trump to appoint these justices is the reason that we are in this predicament that we're in. But just to highlight a few things about democracy, Lisa, and that's what we really got to focus on. Giving a president immunity for official acts, we got to define that. And Justice Roberts did say that while they did grant this 6-3 ruling for a president to have immunity on official acts, we got to determine, was that call to Secretary Brad Raffensperger to encourage him to find roughly 12,000 votes to basically overturn democracy, to go against the American people? Was that an official act or was it an unofficial act? So the Fulton County case is not over. Now you just got to figure out, how do they move forward? And then as B-Rob mentioned, the timing is off. It won't probably come up before the election, but I still think there's some merit to this case in Georgia.
And, the Supreme Court noted that it did not dismiss the indictment alleging he allegedly schemed to cling to power after he lost to President Joe Biden. But, Brian, in the scheme of things, what does this do for his run for presidency, specifically here in Georgia, where the two are neck and neck in the polls?
Well, I agree with Tharon when it comes to the Georgia case that this does not necessarily mean that Fani Willis's case is moot. I think we can have a really good debate on whether or not he was acting as the president of the United States or as a pseudo campaign manager when he made that call to Brad Raffensperger. And I think on the campaign side, this is almost a total win because it validates a lot of the messaging that Trump has used. But in the broader picture beyond the campaign, I don't think that this ruling is as sweeping as those who are opposed to it fear. There's still, as Tharon said, there still must be this time when we define what is official and what is unofficial. And I think the lower courts are going to flush out that issue, and we'll have some clarity probably sometime in 2025. I know Democrats aren't happy with that timeline, but I do think that these answers that people are screaming are unanswered and very important will get answered.
Yeah, Theron, though, but is there some fear? Because I read somewhere that if Trump defeats Biden, he could appoint an attorney general who could seek the dismissal of, all the federal cases against him. Any word on that? Any feeling there? Did you do a temperature check there?
Look, it is very clear that one thing that the post debate sort of commentary, and you got editorial boards coming out and saying a lot of things about the president should be removed, and you got Democrats rallying behind him, is that it achieved one of a lot of things. But the one thing it did achieve, Lisa, is that Democrats are awake, we are woke, and we are definitely focusing on beating Donald Trump. Now, what you just said is another layer to why Donald Trump should not be and cannot be reelected to the White House. He can do exactly what you just described. And I think we got to remind the people of what the Supreme Court has done since Donald Trump has appointed his three justices. They overturned Roe v. Wade, which is 50 years of president. They overturned Chevron, which is 40 years of president. They overturned affirmative action, 60 years plus of president. And they allowed cities to criminalize homelessness, and the list goes on and on and on. And so we can't, I'm not saying turn this against a election about against the Supreme Court justices, but you got to crystallize the messaging about why the president of the United States is so important when it comes to saving our democracy and the justices that he appoints. And so that's got to be the message, Lisa. And then as far as the Georgia case, I mean, B. Rob is right. I mean, we got to wait to hear from DA Fonnie Willis. What does this mean for the case? What's going to happen from this point forward? And even though it may not happen before the election, looks like it's not going to happen before the election, justice in this country needs to be served. And if Donald Trump did something wrong, and he's found guilty of more things beyond the convicted felonies that he's been convicted of, I think the American people deserve to know the truth.
Quickly, we have.
And Lisa, if I can add here, one other thing here is, many Democrats bashed Republicans when the New York case came down as guilty on 34 felony counts, that Republicans were undermining the rule of law. They were undermining faith in our judicial system. That put some of those Democrat commentators in a bit of a box here, that they can't go out there now and attack the Supreme Court because Republicans can say, whoa, 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 you're attacking the rule of law. You're attacking the faith in our judicial system, in the bedrock of our democracy. So I think it's a bit of it as another win for Trump, in that it puts some Democrat talking points, with a pair.
Okay, I think we lost Brian.
Yeah, if I can respond to that real quick. No one is attacking the Supreme Court. Let me go on the record for saying that to our listeners. I am not attacking the Supreme Court itself, but I am pushing back on the decision that I fundamentally disagree with. And what I'm doing is just reminding the American people, particularly Georgia voters who are listening to this episode, is that it's simple. If you want to save democracy, then you got to vote for Joe Biden. If you want to give Donald Trump 4 more years to destroy democracy, like we've seen before, just judge him on his pattern, judge him on his behavior, judge him on the facts, then I think that this decision has got to be something that needs to be a wake-up call to all voters. And I think that the most of the American people and Georgia voters want democracy in this country. We don't want to be a country that's full of destruction. And I think that that's what Democrats have got to make sure they make crystal clear about why it's important to elect presidents, because they pick justices that will overturn and make decisions for our country like the one we just recently saw.
Yeah, a huge development yesterday, one in which Trump went on social media saying, big win for our Constitution and democracy, proud to be an American. Tharon, thanks for your thoughts this morning. Brian, sorry we lost you. Thank you for being here as well. Have a wonderful day, and we'll talk next time.
Thank you, Lisa.